Her father guided ships home. She guided one heart without knowing. For as long as Alara could remember, the world was a circle of endless sea and sky, with her father's lighthouse standing as the steadfast sentinel at its center. He was the keeper of the light, a silent guardian for sailors lost in the churning gray waves. His life was one of routine and solitude, a rhythm dictated by the setting sun and the rising tide. Ilara, born in the keeper's cottage, nestled at the lighthouse's base, inherited his love for the sea, but not his contentment with isolation, while her father, Thomas, found solace in the steady, sweeping beam of light. Ilara found her escape in the stories brought ashore by the supply boat captain. Tales of bustling cities, of music that filled grand halls, of people whose lives weren't measured by the turning of a lamp. She would sit on the weathered dock, her bare feet dangling just above the water, and listen, her imagination painting vivid pictures far beyond her rocky island home. She dreamt of a world she had only read about in the few books her father kept, a world of color and noise and connection. Her own world was one of quiet observation. She knew the language of the gulls, the moods of the tide, and the secrets whispered by the wind. She could predict a storm by the color of the sky and the taste of the salt on the air. She helped her father maintain the giant lens, polishing the glass until it shone like a captured star, feeling the immense responsibility that rested on their shoulders. Every night, as the lamp began its rotation, she would watch its beam cut through the darkness, a promise of safety to unseen strangers. It was a noble life, a peaceful life. But for a hat full of untold stories, it was a lonely one. One autumn, a storm, more ferocious than any in recent memory, raged against their island. For 2 days and nights, the sea was a monster, throwing itself against the cliffs with a deafening roar. On the third morning, the fury subsided, leaving behind a bruised sky and an eerie calm. As Ilara scanned the coastline for damage, her sharp eyes caught something wedged between the rocks at the base of the cliffs. It was the splintered remains of a small boat, and slumped beside it, a figure. Her heart leaped into her throat. Rushing down the treacherous path, she found a young man, unconscious, his face pale and his clothes shrunk. He was a stranger, a world away from the familiar faces of the supply crew. With strength she didn't know she possessed, she managed to drag him away from the tide's reach and back up to the cottage. Her father, his face etched with concern, helped her lay the man by the hearth. 4 days, he drifted in and out of consciousness, muttering words in a language she didn't understand. Ilara tended to him, cleaning his wounds, spooning broth into his mouth, and watching his chest rise and fall with each breath. His name, she learned when he finally awoke, was Liam. He was an artist, a painter from a distant city, who had been sailing to a neighboring island to capture its landscapes when the storm ambushed him. His boat was lost, his canvases and paints swallowed by the sea. All he had left were the clothes on his back and a small, water-damaged sketchbook he'd kept tucked inside his coat. As he recovered, he began to fill its pages, but he didn't draw the sea or the sky. He drew her. He sketched her as she mended fishing nets, her fingers moving with practiced grace. He sketched her, staring out at the horizon, the wind whipping strands of hair across her face. He sketched her in the glow of the fire, her eyes reflecting the flames as she read aloud from one of her beloved books. He told her she was the most captivating subject he had ever seen, more compelling than any landscape. He saw the stories in her eyes, the dreams she held so close. For the first time, Ilara felt truly seen. Liam didn't just see the lighthouse keeper's daughter. Sao Ilara. He listened to her dreams of faraway places, not as childish fantasies, but as adventures waiting to happen. He spoke of his city, not as a fairy tale, but as a real place, with cobblestone streets and galleries filled with light and color. He told her she had a painter's eye for the world, a poet's heart for its beauty. He made her quiet island feel less like a prison and more like a sanctuary. In turn, Ilara showed him her world. She taught him the names of the constellations, the patterns of the tides, and the secret coves where seals came to rest. She showed him the raw, untamed beauty of her home, a beauty he had never been able to capture on his canvases before. With her, he saw the sea not as a gray, menacing force, but as a living entity with 1,000 different moods and colors. His sketchbook filled with new life, the rugged cliffs, the swirling mists, and the light, always the light, from the tower. Her father watched them, a silent observer. He saw the light in his daughter's eyes, a brightness that rivaled the lighthouse lamp itself. He saw the way Liam looked at her, with a reverence he usually reserved for his art. He had always feared the day the outside world would come for his daughter, but seeing her with Liam, he began to understand that perhaps it wasn't about the world taking her away, but about her finding her own place in it. Weeks turned into a season. The autumn chill gave way to the crisp air of winter. Liam was fully recovered. His strength returned. The supply boat was due, its arrival a promise of passage back to his life, his world. A quiet sadness settled over the island. The unspoken question hung between them, as heavy as the winter fog. What now? Liam couldn't stay. He was an artist, and his life was in the city. Elara couldn't leave. Her father needed her. The lighthouse was her duty. The night before the boat was scheduled to arrive, Liam found Elara at the top of the tower, standing in the glow of the great lamp. He didn't say a word, just stood beside her, their shoulders almost touching, and looked out at the dark expanse of water. Finally, he handed her his sketchbook. She opened it to the last page. It was a drawing of 2 lighthouses on 2 separate shores. There are beams of light stretching across the water, meeting in the middle. Below it, he had written, some lights guide ships. You guide my heart. I will find my way back to you. Tears welled in Elara's eyes. He wasn't asking her to leave her world, nor was he abandoning his. He was promising to build a bridge between them. He explained that he would go back, sell his new art, the art she had inspired, and earn enough to one day build a studio, a home, somewhere they could be together, a place where she could see the world without leaving her sea behind. It was a dream, a fragile, beautiful dream, but it was theirs. The next morning, she stood on the dock and watched the supply boat shrink into a speck on the horizon. Her heart ached with a bittersweet pain. The island was quiet again, the silence more profound than ever before. But it was no longer a lonely silence. As she walked back to the cottage, she knew that her father had spent his life guiding ships home. She had spent her life watching him, and now she understood. She had become a beacon herself, a light for a single soul navigating his way through the world, promising to guide him back to her shore. Her story was no longer just about the sea and the sky. It was about 2 lights, reaching for each other across the vast, beautiful distance. Thanks for watching.